when you approach the high ground, it takes a lot out of me to tell my team like to back off and not siege because everyone's already there. Everyone's already there, so people just like default to like hitting it or whatever, and then feed to the Magnus who skewers
the
you
tower
back.
is like an MC fucking antenna. Like the high ground tower is genuinely like the mind control radio tower. You
That's
just get
funny.
there
Wait,
and
I
like
want to make that the thumbnail.
because
It's
I
gonna be a
actually
bunch
know.
of zombies like going
Yes,
up the
no,
high
I
ground and
feel the
feeding.
pull. Like
That's
as soon as you look
hilarious.
up those high ground steps, you like look up, and I'm just like I'm mind controlled to just like run it straight in.
No, and
feed.
I feel like the bad guy who's ruining everyone's fun when I say like back, like we're not sieging, guys.
It's like so extreme too
Because
because
that's
like
what it is.
dude, the pull is so devastating because literally what it turns into at the high ground siege is as you're hitting the tower, you are like begging them like, I'm hitting, careful, do not go up,
Don't
do
dive.
not go up.
I can
and like
feel
you
that
can
my
literally
axe
see
wants
them.
to
No,
dive.
you can literally see them like running forward and like getting ready to dive. And it's like and you're like begging them like, stop, dude, please.
Welcome to the Egoisto podcast,
That's true, actually.
aka the Dota Club podcast. Pine and I just started watching Blue Lock season 2 together.
Yeah, it's really good.
Which
I think
is really good. But more importantly, it has a lot of themes that are really, really relevant to Dota and climbing in Dota.
yeah, there is so many good themes in Blue Lock, which is funny because it gets clowned on because it's like Watson fucking egoisto, like with the emote and shit.
I have the most fun watching Pro Dota when I like hyper focus on
One guy.
Well, one guy or like one or two specific aspects of the game.
I
Like
see.
what I was doing before, which was really cool. And on the contrary, I don't enjoy Pro Dota when I like am just passively watching and I'm not like thinking
I
about
agree with
anything,
that.
which
No,
is
I agree with that.
weird because you think it'd be the opposite. Like you think it's entertainment, and I guess it is, but I enjoy it the most when I'm engaging with it. But anyway, I was specifically watching who or how a team fight started. So what spells were used on what hero, like who's initiating, and then I would predict who would win the fight based on how
That's
the initiation
really good.
went.
Yeah,
It was
that's
really
good.
fun. We should do that together sometime. Like watch the video and then
Dude.
like pause it and then predict who's going to win based on the initiation. And I learned a lot about, initiations and what heroes were getting jumped. And it's not a coincidence what heroes are getting jumped at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of nuance to it. Like I really like, there's an Excalibur tweet where he's talking about how the ideal situation to start a team fight is obviously not obviously, actually. This is one of those things where I kind of knew intuitively, but until I heard it like written down, it didn't crystallize in my brain. But the best case scenario is you jump a core and you just burst them full to 0, right? But that can quickly turn into the worst case scenario. If you jump a core, use a lot of spells to try to burst them, and they survive.
Right, yeah.
That's kind of worst case. Especially if they have a satanic. So, I mean, literally worst case is you jump a satanic gyro first. He survives and presses his satanic, and then his team is pressing his spells on top of you guys. That's an auto loss just based on how that started. And then a good compromise is just like jumping a support, right? Because they're typically pretty easy to kill. So
yeah, you can like use less to jump them too. I also find that on the map, like when you catch people on the map a lot of the times, it's or at least I feel like this is something that we do really well. Or I have phases where I do this really well, which is you cut off the reinforcements, little Sun Tzu Art of War.
Yeah, no, that's
I remember we were
good.
discussing this, but a lot of the times, like, okay, so who's presenting himself is like the core on the wave, but to actually execute that jump sometimes is pretty difficult. And because I was gonna say, like, obviously the core is the one presenting himself, so you would expect him to be easier to catch on the map. But I mean, it's just a harder kill. So a lot of the times, I feel like you and me have a lot of success where like we're just like playing on the map in between the guy and like where his team wants to connect from, and you just get so many free pickoffs that way. Especially, I mean, if you have vision in between.
Yeah. Are you thinking like after we initiate on the first guy?
No, I know.
I was originally
I'm
thinking
saying
about
on the
that.
map. No, I'm
On the
saying
map,
on
I
the
see.
map. The reinforcements on the map, because if you just imagine, like, if your guy's far out on the map, naturally either he's going to path back to his team at some certain point, or the teammates are going to connect to him. And I mean, also another thing, not that you should just like run around in 5v5, but like this is also something I experience a lot, is naturally when you push out space, like let's say it's a hard game, and because obviously we're like implying that we can like jump and kill their supports. So if it's like a game where it's pretty tense, when one guy pushes out the wave, all of the useless bastards just file right in behind him on the map, just whoop right into that space right behind the guy that's making all the space.
That's a really good insight. That's something that I like know intuitively,
Yeah.
but just hearing it. This is why I love like just talking about Dota in general, is because it like solidifies concepts in my head that I know. But now, like for example, that idea that you just said of when you push out a wave, like people file in behind them, like you can use that intel because that is what happens 99% of the time.
Yes, dude.
And I like how you said they're useless because they are. Like they don't have anything else to do on the map. And the whole other side of the map is scary because no one's pushing that way.
And who's the guy pushing the wave? It's like
it's your carry.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or it's like it's the hardest kill, right? And then all the useless fucks just whoop like right into like the 4 jungle camps right behind the guy. And then so you're the guy pushing the wave, and then you finish pushing the wave, and you turn around on your model, and you're like, you look back into your jungle, and it's just like every camp has a guy on it. You're like, what? It's so
I think it's funny. Sometimes I like plan to push out the wave and then like farm backwards, and then I look backwards and my supports are like, they're all on a separate camp.
They're all in that shit. Yeah, they're on all of them. It's like, yeah, no, that happens all the time. But what I'm relating that back to what I was saying is like, let's say the guy who's shoving the wave is a hard jump. How about smoke behind him and kill the guys filing in, right? Like get the initiative.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that. Like I think people don't utilize okay, this is another. I mean, not to like. I mean, it should just be like self glaze, but I think I do this well on 4 a lot of times. Is predicting where people are going to go based on information. But when I say that, like, oh, you got to use the information on the map, people think it's like so literal. Like, I see the guy right there, and then he walks here, but I was right there, 1 foot away. That's like not easy to make happen, right? Because like sometimes you see the guy on the map and he's across the whole map, and you'd be making this intuitive decision, like they're about to file in. And then you're going to make, like, you're thinking a couple steps ahead, and that's why you get the jump. Whereas, cool. Whereas a lot of, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go. You can finish.
Yeah. No, I lost it, so it's all good. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad.
You're good. You're good.
I was going to say that a lot of the, like, honestly, I think this role that we're talking about of, like, predicting where they are is the support's job. Because for whatever reason, if I'm a carry and I like call for a smoke in a specific direction, people are much less likely to listen to that than if I'm playing support.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah, yes. And I actually want to use this to talk more about Blue Lock because we were watching this Blue Lock episode and dude, honestly, it's just like nuggets.
Wait,
of
we
gold.
should give a little bit of context of what Blue Lock is just for people who might not know. It's an anime about soccer.
It's anime
but
about
there
soccer.
are themes about like competition and like carrying your team, but also teamwork and ego, and it applies really well to Dota.
To blow it up out of proportion, because it's like the show is kind of ridiculous, which is why it's like slightly bitified. But like basically, it's like they go all the way like to like one end of the spectrum where they're like, all your teammates are completely worthless bots, and you got to like go 1v9 mode and like just like they're useless tools for your disposal. It's like just like
though.
full ego. Or here, actually, I mean, I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of soccer, but I'll relate it to Dota. So what the Blue Lock like program is in it, or is in the show, is it's just a program where they're developing all strikers, which is like the forwards in soccer. So you can think of that as cores in Dota, okay, or carries. Yes. So it's like they just bring in like 100 carries, and then they just bring in like 100 carries, and they're like, we're gonna train you guys to be like the best Dota team in the world, but we're gonna train you all as carries. And I just hate that this is like why would this work? Because okay, there was a really good scene, but that's the context. And there was a really good scene where basically like the top 2 players, there's 3 different teams with like two really, really good guys. And so then like all the scrubs are getting filled in with like these really, really good players. And basically like the goal, or like the guy in the show who's like running it is like, okay, in order to do well with these like really, really good players, or just like I'm thinking of them as like cores, but like it's not that they're better players, but I'm thinking of them as cores, is he said you need to assert and coexist. It was assertion and coexist. And I like both of those because well, first off, let's start with coexist, because I think that's the more straightforward one. Like, oh, you got to coexist, you got to synergize with their core. But dude, just so many supports will take it so literally where they're like, oh, coexist, I just have to like literally just like glaze my carry's shit and like just stand there and like just do whatever, or like feed this guy 30 tangos. Actually, is anyone doing that? Probably not. But like
That concept taken to the extreme is just like right clicking on your carry and following
carry
him
and like
around
having
from
no
camp
impact
to
and like
camp.
not thinking. Yes, exactly. And then because the other one is what makes it so insightful, in my opinion, which is
Assert.
assertion. I want my support to be assertive. I want him to make the calls. I want him to be thinking about what his role should do.
Show
And he
some
needs,
agency.
yes, he should
Honestly,
assert what, yeah.
it's exhausting on cores to be making a lot of the calls because you're already like so focused on last hitting and farming.
That's why I
and
like it. Is like
items
you
and
need
all
to
that.
assert what your role is about, and you still coexist with me and synergize with me. But I really just like that kind of. If we're taking it back to like the egoisto like mindset, I genuinely think the egoisto mindset is just something that supports lack. And I'm being so serious, like it's killing support players.
Yeah,
Like
I
in
have
the
a
whole
really good
server, it's
example
brutal.
of assertion where, and this is when we randomly got. I recognize this guy from like EU pubs, so he's like really high in our support,
Mhm,
and he was making calls the whole game at a really fast pace. But one
mhm.
really good call that he made was we were behind, and we were on Radiant, right? We were like pretty behind. It was kind of a hopeless game, and what he did is he like smoked, and he put a really deep ward like in the
Okay.
dire jungle, and he drew an arrow from all of our useless bastards who were in our base to the dire ward. So he
Okay.
wanted us when we were losing, instead of turtling, to just smoke into the enemy jungle and just
Yeah.
play on the ward. I think that's a concept that a lot of people don't really understand, is like playing what it means to play on a ward. Damn it, we need a freaking moderator in this
No,
chat.
I got it.
Yeah, the concept of playing on a ward. I think in Dota, literally just sitting on a ward for multiple minutes is good in the late game because somebody on the enemy team will likely walk under the ward. Obviously, if you're a
Yeah.
core, you need to like farm, so don't take it too literally. But I think good support gameplay can just be placing a ward like deep and just sitting on it and defending it. Somebody will walk on it. Especially because if you're in the situation I described, if you're behind, the enemy's not going to expect you to be in their jungle. And if you just
Yeah.
have 5 heroes there, like you can get a core kill, you know?
Dude, okay, we've discussed this before where like Dota concepts come and go in phases. And I think this is a Dota concept that's out of phase right now. But I feel like it's been so long since my support, we start a fight and then my support puts a ward on the floor. I feel like they never do that anymore, man. Uh,
Yeah.
like they just don't save
Did
a
they
ward for
ever
the.
used to do that?
I feel like people used to like run over and like insta deward the cliff and put, because there are less cliff wards now too, right? Like the cliff, like it mind melds the support to like have impact because they just like realize they're supposed to put their wards up there or something, which is good.
I think that's one of those concepts that has like come and gone a little bit in pop Dota culture.
Yeah, that's
So
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
hear people talk. Yeah, I don't hear people talk a lot about like placing wards in fights,
Yeah, and I feel like
but
it was
that's
in
really
for a little
impactful.
bit. Like honestly, like the Dota culture, quote unquote, like what that you see in pubs, like I feel like a lot of it's influenced by like whatever like Speed or someone or like BSJ is talking about
Yeah, that's
recently in their
true. They have
videos.
a lot of
Because if Speed's
influence.
like emphasizing like, oh, this is what is so broken, just ward the cliff, then everybody's just like cliff ward merchant for like a couple of weeks, and then he goes on the next concept and it just like leaves their brain instantly, and they just like stop warding the fucking cliff, or just like putting a ward in the fight. But and dude, like you don't have to overcomplicate it as well. It doesn't need to be like holy shit, you need to get the Giga Cliff ward and like deward theirs. Like it's like when we like go Roche, just put a ward like right on the floor, right there, man, or anything. Because the other thing is like, sure, like if it's daytime and you put a ward on the floor, it's like, okay, I see pretty much what this ward sees. But this ward is just something that you could tether your hero to in the sense that like you can move around it and play off the vision. Because sure, maybe the ward, it's daytime and the ward is like showing me a lot of stuff I already see. But what if I kite behind the Roche pit and now I can't see? Right? Like, but I see like, and the other thing is your team, whether you know hate your teammates and they're all bots or not, like this relates to Tinker, so I'll talk about it with Tinker as well. Is that when you put the ward, it's going to subconsciously change your teammate's gameplay. Same for me. If there's a ward, now I know I can play off that vision. I can kite
Even
away and
your
still
low
see what's
MMR
happening.
teammates. Even your
Yes,
low MMR teammates.
yes. It's just how I mean it's they have more information, right? And like it's a different game, so they will. And what I was gonna say for Tinker is this was something I had to learn when I was playing a lot of support Tinker. Is it feels easy to just or sometimes you press your buttons on Tinker and you're like, is this doing anything? Because you put like 36 marches on the floor. It's like hitting nobody. I shielded my like useless guy 9 times and then I just like TP home. and like that's my fight impact. And it's like, is that completely worthless? But the secret was because a lot of the times it's also awkward to use March. And the secret is you just put that shit everywhere, and then it changes how your teammates can play. Because like imagine you're not the Tinker, you're the Ember or something, or you're like the Pango, I guess, or the carry, whatever, some melee guy. And you're like fighting the whole enemy team, and you see 5 billion marches behind you, and you're like getting gone on. It's like, dude, just walk into that shit. Like your teammate's gonna walk into that, okay? Like in your like legend pub. If you put down 9 marches and he's like getting jumped 1 foot from the march, he's gonna kite into the march.
You really think that?
I don't think he's gonna like do it intuitively or it's gonna be a nice play. But let's say the guy is dying and there's a march on his screen. Dude's definitely running right through that because he's not thinking about the repair bots. He's thinking about like it's gonna hit the enemy. But like, but that's also what I'm saying. Like he may be a bot and he doesn't even realize like the repair bots are good, but his ass is just gonna run into the march just intuitively.
Yeah.
So put it on the floor.
What I was gonna say is playing with Tinker. I think there's more nuance than that. Where like, because you started playing Tinker a lot recently, and before that, I haven't had experience playing like with the Tinker, especially the new Tinker, and it's really different than the old one. And what I've been doing recently is like kiting in and out of the march in fights is really good. Like you can use it
you're like
as kind of a safe zone. Yeah, no, it exactly, but it has a lot of impact. Is my point.
Yes.
And I think
I like
my main point is that fully playing with Tinker, I think requires a lot of nuance.
Sure, but the other thing is, I think like you are what you said is really nice. It's a safe zone, right? And I think that people intuitively will know it's a safe zone and run to it. It doesn't need to be as extreme as like they kite in it, because people don't kite in the fight anyways. But if you just put it down, like it will likely have impact. Like it will influence your team. It's giving them like a point to retreat to. And so relating it back to the ward, believe it or not, is a safe space. That's your safe zone, right? Because you see the whole thing. And then the enemy team walks into it. It's the danger zone. Dude's dead instant. Okay. So just put the damn ward on put the wards on the floor.
You know, speaking of wards, this is completely off topic, but something annoying about Hurricane Pike. I've been trying to get better at my Pike usage recently.
Yeah, okay.
Is that
and I piked the ward and I fucking
no, you should use Pike when the enemy's on a ward. It's better because you can use the auto attacks after.
Yes.
But
true.
what I was gonna say, what's annoying is when you pike someone and they go out of vision and you can't like attack them.
Auto attack them?
Yeah. I feel like Pike should give vision for like a few seconds. That would be so good.
Dude,
but it doesn't, which is annoying.
We've been playing against a lot of Invis heroes. This is another thing, man. I don't know how this relates at all, to be honest. I don't know how it came in my mind.
I just went on my schizo Pike.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing that's really annoying recently is, I swear, it's so hard to get Invis kills because nobody carries dust, right?
You gotta get your own dust on a core.
Yes, I do. I mean, I will show up to the play, pop a dust as Tinker, and then no one else has dust. I TP home and buy another dust. Like, but it's just annoying because we lost a lot of kills to like these Invis heroes where like the guy gets dusted and then he just runs around in circles through trees so the dust expires and nobody else has a dust, man. Yeah, and mine's like cooldown. Like when there's an enemy hero with Invis, here's the thing about dust that I've started to like think about is like, okay, first off, you're gonna have to adjust your item build and save a slot for dust. You need the slot for dust. I think you need it because what does dust do? It's free kills. Like imagine you're on PA and you don't get the dust and the level 3 bounties like hitting a wave for fun. Like, dude, that is a free kill. Dust also slows and does damage to people who it reveals in Invis. So like it is like a tool to use. Like if you jump the bounty with like your dust and the guy gets blood grenaded, like he's fried.
Yeah.
So
I will say it's not free. The 80 gold, bro. That's a hefty fee. It's expensive. I think it's too expensive.
Every time you press that dust, you're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's still worth. I'm not saying don't buy dust.
Well, the other thing that people do, the other problem that people do is there'll be like a full HP bounty hunter like hitting a wave, and the guy like invises away out of the go, and he's like clearly not dying, and then your guy just like pressed dust. Like, dude. That's why dust feels like shit, because you're pressing it like that. Wait till the guy's dying.
Yeah, I mean the interesting thing about it is,
I'm saying like for cores, you can make
it literally represents like kill threat, 1 kill threat versus 0 kill threat. You're going from 0 to 1 if you buy dust.
You need to like if there are invis enemies, then each dust is representing an opportunity that you can. Because think of it from the invis pod with the guy with no dust. It's like, okay, so this guy can't kill me. He has dust. Okay, he can kill me once, right? So like if you don't have dust, you're literally just missing out on opportunities on the map to kill the enemy heroes.
Yeah, and the annoying thing for me is when we miss out on an invis kill, and then I see like 5 dusts purchased on like the sidebar. Like, come on, we
Rage.
should have had that before. No, it's annoying because I feel like we should have had it
I know,
before.
I know, I know.
It's good that they buy
Yeah, yeah.
dust, but
No,
like,
no, no,
come
no.
on, guys.
I
Like,
hate it as
look at
well.
your screen. We know there's a bounty in the game.
Dude,
Um,
I mean, okay, we've discussed this before, but it's me talking about how nobody listens to me when I talk in the game, but they like to listen to you. But I remember
because I say less. That's literally what it is.
But I'm also like talking about like, I swear when I'm mid and I'm against like an Invis hero, or I literally was like saying this in one of the games. Oh no, this was against the bounty, like the bounty mid. I'm like, guys, like buy dust on everyone. It's gonna be a free kill. He's just gonna be like walking around because this is when I was Tinker, so like the bounty didn't really want to lane mid because I'm just like shoving 30 marches under his tower, and it felt like shit. So the guy's just like AFK running around, and I'm like, everyone just buy dust. It's like free kills, and then I'm like, I'm TPing around as Tinker with like 4 dust in my inventory. I'm only do with dust, and then okay, because also people confuse how to use sentries and dust, right? Because I like when supports use sentries against Invis heroes as well when it's defensive.
No,
like
supports just drop that shit when they're on the edge of the sentry range and they walk out. Like
dude,
later.
That actually
that's
like
a plague. I've been seeing a lot of that recently. I hate
dude,
it.
It literally it's so clowny. It feels like a scene out of the Pink Panther where he's like running between the doorways. Because what do I see? I walk into the lane like. No one stuns the guy or does anything, and I see the sentry. Boom, a little bounty slips away into the trees. It's like, what the hell? And then you put another sentry, then boom, he skitters off to the left of the sentry.
They're always
like,
right on the edge of their range.
Bad. This guy. In what universe are we gonna put the sentry on the floor and
so
kill
much
this guy?
better.
But like both are good. Both are good. My point is like dust is like when you're jumping the guy. Sentry, I like when they have the sentries to find the guy and start on him, or like use it defensively.
Yeah,
in
if
the
you
lane.
anticipate like where he's gonna go.
But why do supports think you run from the trees and put the fucking sentry on the floor? That's just not what dude just does.
I think what it is they like don't have dust, so they try to like, do that.
Yeah, and then they slaughter 4 of your sentry wards in the go, and the guy lives. It's like literally 4 sentries in the same exact spot. Like it's so gross. But yeah,
you know what I think is really interesting on the note of Invis is I've been playing a lot of TA recently.
Yes,
and I meld on the bounty runes every single game.
Yes.
I skill meld level 1 and I go press meld on a bounty rune. Yes. And every single game, it's a free kill. Nobody ever expects TA to be doing that, which even like TA spammers that I watch don't do it. And it's so impactful and nobody ever expects it. It's so funny. And people like, they like all chat. They're like, really, bro? Like you're going to cheese me like that after I do it? That only happened once.
Wait till I double meld you in front of your tower, buddy. You're in like 20 seconds here.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the ultimate one too, is I do that at the rune. And then I go in front of their tower as the creeps are walking, and I do it again.
Yeah,
it's really good. I mean, double meld level 1 is like half HP.
I don't understand why people don't abuse that. You literally like one shot somebody.
Yeah, I mean, people will in the future. That's just something that people don't do. I think. I mean, I don't know why they don't do it.
Okay, I have something I need. I have a burning topic, and this is actually good because this is like hella authentic. We've discussed this very briefly, or we haven't fleshed it out. But I need to talk about before the horn plays, because I swear to God that some of the worst, most egregious things I've ever seen in my life go on before the horn. So here, what originally reminded me of this is I remember there was a game where you were TA on the runes and you communicated the entire minute. You're like, you ran straight out of base, melded on the rune, and you said, okay, I'm going to meld on the runes. We are going to kill someone on the top rune. And then I start devising the plan where I'm like, this is where I like try to do something and then like the nuance is completely lost. Whereas if we stood 5 people in the trees top, it probably would have just been better. But I'm like, okay, let's run in bot because we were in smoke. I was like, let's run in bot as 4. Our TA's melded on top rune and he's like scouting. And then they're going to see us bot and be like, holy shit, go top. They're all bot. They're 5 bot. And it works. Okay. So this bounty spots us. I think we killed the bounty too. And then we run up and then I'm like, okay, go top room. And the whole time you're like, I just need like one guy in a blood grenade here and we can kill. And then all 4 or 3 of our teammates just like stood on the runes and then ran into the enemies and like died. And then you and me like went like 2v2 on the top runes and they both lived on like low HP. Like, what are we guys? Like, and that's not even the worst. The worst that happened recently. And this is like, I think supports just actually, I don't know. I think it's a good indicator of the game quality when we've had a lot of experience recently where like the game is starting and you're like 30 seconds before the horn and your guy just like randomly runs into like where they could definitely be. Here's my example. We were dire and we didn't smoke and this guy ran out late. So it's like they can be anywhere on their half of the map. They can be out. And then he just runs through the middle lane into the river, up the stairs, up the Watcher stairs. Guess who's there? 5 enemy heroes, right? Boom. Enemy mid first blood, which is chill. It's all good. But just
no,
that,
it's really not. I
it's
think
actually
the enemy
awful.
mid getting
He's
first
solo
blood
ruined
puts
the game.
I think it puts the
solo
win
ruined the game.
probability at like 60-40 or like 55-45 just right off the bat. And I'm not talking about like
think
the
it's worse than that.
technical
It's so
win
bad.
probability, but my point is it's just really really good
Anecdotal
for the
win probability.
enemy mid. But
Yeah.
I also think as a PSA, you should always use a ward for the bounty runes. Like
you should
always
smoke
pre-game.
every
you should use a
game.
ward.
You should be smoking, and both of your wards. One of them is going to be the mid ward, but that also
one
contributes-
mid ward, one bounty rune ward every
both
game.
of, just use them for the runes, man.
'Cause
So you guys
before-
don't feed.
Yeah, before I learned that, I thought that I was kind of like wasting a ward if I would play support and putting them at the bounty runes, but it's really good because most times you get a kill. One thing that I would do when I would play Weaver support, and I hope that this concept can be applied to like other heroes too, not just Weaver. But I would smoke my team and I would spam Sakuchi to get out on the map.
You do this
fast.
on Earth Spirit with roll if you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I would put a deep ward and I would just tell my team to go to the ward, connect to the ward. Because wards are stronger at nighttime as well.
Yeah,
and it's nighttime pre-game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if you guys just sit on the ward, somebody will walk on it.
Okay, and
that applies to all stages of the game.
And the vice versa. This is why I don't think the technical win probability may be like 55-45 after the first blood. The anecdotal win probability is 100-0. And I'll tell you why right now. It's because the kind of player that you are where it's nighttime and you just like walk into like enemy mid lane river and then just like walk into their jungle, like you just know this guy's going to go 0-5,000 in the game.
Yeah, I mean that particular example, he was on Winter Wyvern.
But how many
which makes
times,
it worse because
yes, it's really bad.
A squishier hero.
But also
that guy also ruined my lane. He was
it's
my
not
support.
just the fact that like, oh, he went to this like this location in particular and it was sketchy. It's like this guy is literally just Winter Wyvern just walking around the map alone, 280 move speed. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like it's just like you're lost right now. Yeah, no, I feel like so many games
it's just leagues below like the skill level of the game.
Well, okay, here's another thing that I don't understand. I swear to God, okay, this is something that annoys me a lot in these games is it'll be before the bounty runes and it's like people never at least on our team, I swear like nobody is talking about which bounty runes we're going to take, and I can tell that like as it's getting to like 20 seconds, everyone starts tweaking, right? Like everyone's kind of moving towards different bounty runes. I know. I'm looking at my mini map and I'm like, who's about to get like just blasted by 5 heroes? Because everybody's just like standing in a random spot on the map. And what annoys me is I'm like trying to coordinate. I'm like, let's do 5. I think we should go here. Let's just locate the Pudge and dodge him. I'm like making plans. No one's saying anything. And I'm just like, is anyone else like tweaking right now? Because I just know one of my teammates is about to get destroyed. And then lo and behold, the runes come up. We're contesting 3 runes and they just like the enemy team is together and they just get a double kill or something.
Honestly, it takes a lot of coordination because people don't know intuitively how you should play it. Honestly, in a pub, if you're not walking around as 5, it's nightmare scenario. Your team's probably getting first blooded. I think that's like the easiest way.
I feel like if my team doesn't walk around as 5,
and if you're a support, one thing you can do to like foster that is just smoke your team at the beginning. That will make them run around as 5.
That always does.
That's an indirect way to just have a lot of impact in the game.
I think
right
you should
off
always
the
smoke
bat
at the beginning. You could the other nuance to it is you could wait till you get out to like the mid tower and then smoke if you want a longer duration on the smoke.
That's good too. That's something good support players do is you like wait and you smoke.
Well,
another thing I wanted to say this when we were talking about dust. Another thing good support players do is they'll buy a gem. They're not afraid to buy a gem.
Yes,
if it's a good gem game, and I honestly think gem is really underbought. And if there's like 1 or 2, maybe not 1, maybe like 2 Invis heroes, a gem is pretty good.
Here's what I think. If there's Invis in the game, eventually a gem should be purchased.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the hero. If it's like a Weaver, I think gem is better than if it's like a bounty.
I'm saying on your team. You can buy it on the Weaver or whatever.
Oh, sorry. It's good against enemy sentries.
But I'm I'm also saying, like, I don't think this is a support unique skill. Like, playing with gem is a skill in and of itself. Like being the gem carrier is a skill because you need to not be a big feeder, and you also need to like be diligent and like deal word cliffs and like et cetera, et cetera. And it's a nice tool. And I like to have gem on my heroes. I like when my support buys a gem and gives it to me in an invis game, and I'm like Ember, right?
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
Pango.
when Gem, I don't like to carry Gem on like Templar Assassin. I think she might be one of the worst Gem carriers because
She doesn't
you
get in
don't.
there.
I mean, it's okay, but yeah, she doesn't really get in there. So I mean, carrying it on backliners doesn't feel good. I'll still do it if I can, but
I think it's more like mids.
TA
Yeah.
also farms a lot, so she's not going to have slots for the Gem.
For
Um,
the
in general.
like carries, like like, or just any, I guess any core role, like, and also the supports, but like, you know, there's no hope for them. You need to be assertive about the, like, think of the gem as a tool, because when I'm playing Ember and there's like invises in Glimmer Cape, like I want that guy to give me the gem so I can kill them, right? Like because it's a problem. And I feel like a lot of people don't view it like that. Like they're like, oh my god, this guy's gonna make me carry the gem, like it's a burden. But let's say you're like Phantom Assassin and they have like 3 glimmers. It's like, give me the gem, bro. Give me the gem right now, so I can kill him. And a lot of people don't think like that. They're like, oh no, I don't want to carry that. Shadow Shaman, carry the gem. Dude's gonna lose it in 2 seconds, man. That gem is minus 900. The fact that gem is 900 gold is also like really cheap. It sounds expensive, but like, I just think that, like, to be honest, usually, unless you're like losing really hard and you can't buy money, but even then, like, I think in most games your team should end up having a gem just to deward too.
Yeah, that's good. I
Like,
think
I feel
another
like
good thing
it's
to
good.
do if you're a support is just ask your core, say like, PA, do you want a gem? And then you buy it for them if they do.
Yes,
And if they say no, like don't buy it for them anyways, because like we said,
dude. I
playing with
wish
gem is a
supports did
skill.
that, man. I wish
Yeah, no,
supports
some
did that.
do. I've been
No,
playing
because
with
what
a support
happens
pretty
is,
consistently who does that, and it's really nice. That's why I thought about it.
I'm relaying this to people hating when I speak on microphone, but whenever I have to try to beg for the gem, I just never get the gem, bro. I'm like, anybody buy me a gem, please buy me a gem, and then I just end up buying it myself.
I think
Uh,
what would get you gem more often is if you one talked less in game, and
well,
two
yeah.
if you just did the ping. Do I think someone should purchase Gem of True Sight? The
Well,
pings in Dota
I'll
are
like talk about
powerful.
gem, and I won't like tell some guy to buy the gem. I'll be like, I can carry a gem if somebody buys, but like when you say that, like ain't nobody buying.
I think someone should purchase Gem is a little bit more assertive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because you're
I agree
saying
with that.
someone should purchase it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But in general, using the pings to communicate, I think just gives you more aura than talking on mic. And
Yeah, I would agree with
aura
that.
contributes to people listening to you more.
Yeah, I think certain things are better to be said on. That's actually interesting. Certain things are better to be said on mic versus like communicated through pings, I think. Because I feel like on mic is like really good for what you're doing in the moment, what your hero's doing maybe in the fight, or like I'm taking the rune and going top, etc., etc.
Basically
But
just things that the pings can't communicate.
no, but you could communicate that with like on the way to the rune and then on the way to the top. But I think like the communication in that instance,
Well, it's more succinct in the mic. There's no one ping for like those two actions.
I could just pick up the rune and ping on my way top, which I do a lot as well. But yeah, I lost it. Fucking
GG.
tragic. Yeah, GG.
But yeah, I mean, in general, I think my communicating in Dota is pretty good. It's one of my strengths, and I use pings a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, we've talked about this before, but the more you talk on mic, the more like annoyed people get at you, the more you become like a public enemy of your team, and they're less likely to listen to you. Also, your mic has been cutting out when you talk, which I think makes people listen to you even less.
Yeah,
So I think it becomes a cycle where people like never listen to you these days because it literally like I'll hear like half your sentence, and sometimes I don't even know what you meant.
Oh my god.
And then they don't listen to you, and then you get annoyed. And
No,
you, like,
I
talk
know
on
my
mic
mic's
more.
cutting out. I know my mic's cutting out because I remember there was a time where there was like an arcane root and my remnant's on it, and I'm like, yeah, I can take it, and I definitely know it just went through as like take it, because then like my level or my like CM walked over and just took the rune that's on my remnant. I'm like, bro, what is that? Oh,
There's something else.
Okay, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
No. I was gonna change topics. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think while we change topics could be a good time to like say hello to chat in general, or maybe not. I'll see how it feels, but I mean, we have 6 viewers right now, so yeah, Coachy, thank you for the follow for me as well. If you're just joining, what's up? Say hello in chat. We like to see people in here. You know, you can engage. If you ask a really interesting question, we'll do a Q&A
We might do some
segment
Q&A eventually. Yeah.
at the end where we can like put the questions up like this on the screen and we can talk about it. I think it's pretty cool.
The
I like
Squirtle is crazy.
I like Coach. Yeah, no, that's what I was laughing at too. No,
Yeah.
Coach's emotes before made me laugh.
I
But
don't. Yeah. No, I just don't have it. I don't get to see the emotes in OBS because I don't have the pop out window. It's because I don't have the add-ons.
Gauge cram time.
Well, I know what the emotes are, so
You know what cram time is? I've never seen that in my life.
I don't know what crown time is. I think, but yeah, I can put the picture together here.
To get back to the based podcast content, something
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
wanted to talk about in general was timings, but I know that's like such a buzzword in Dota these days. So what I wanted to talk about specifically was being aware of the other timings in the game, because it's one thing. This is the first step, is being aware of your hero's timings and just playing around them. So like fight after you get, you know, your blink dagger or radiance or whatever it is, but also taking advantage of when the enemy is not on a timing. I think a really good example of this that kind of frustrates me in a lot of games is when they have like an Abaddon farming a radiance and he has a sacred relic. He's he's a lot weaker at that time compared to when he gets his radiance. So I would love in general to go fight them during that time.
Yes.
Because he's going to be really weak.
Yes.
I mean, this concept goes really deep as well because you can be aware of like your team's timings, your timings, and the enemy's timings. So there's no kind of like formulaic way to just abuse it every game. But in general, as I play more Dota, I find myself more aware of people's timings in the game. I think a really good exercise would be to like go through certain heroes and just talk about their timings, you know? Because
I mean,
that
it'd
concept
be better
also
to like
goes.
watch a replay, I think, and talk about it. Though.
I mean, both. Because like you talk about like Abaddon as a hero, he has a lot of different timings. He has skill timings based on his skill build. He has, you know, his best timings based on his items. But I guess it depends on the items that he builds.
It also is in context of the lobby, right? Because like maybe he gets his radiance late and he's not strong. Or he like, yeah, his timing's gonna be too late or something like that. So I think that like the context of the lobby is important. But I know what you're saying.
But
like,
in general, heroes will have like
Abaddon level 3 with
for.
the shield,
I mean, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's a strong.
Yeah,
timing
exactly.
for him, you know, a lot of heroes have level 3 timings though. I think
yeah,
that's
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's more nuanced to like look in the game and see where he didn't abuse timings.
Yeah, because the other thing about timings is they're based on like net worth deficits.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's within the context of that pub or that
That's
game.
another thing that I wanted to talk about that I forget where I heard this. I think you said it or something. But a lot of oh no, I remember. So the reason why I don't like in general people saying like let's not take this game late, like they scale better.
Oh my god.
No,
dude,
this is so
I hate
good
when people say this.
Yeah. It's because you can take it late
midwit.
game. It doesn't matter.
So
as long as you're up net worth by a lot. So the people they'll scale better assuming equal net worth. But if you play properly, it can be a 40-minute game and they can have no net worth because
there's
you're
just no nuance to that, man. It actually triggers me. Oh, we can't go late, bro. We can't go late. So like what? You just want us to like buy meteor hammers and run at the tower? Like what are you talking about? And people just like start tweaking. Like they're like, we can't go late, and then they just go 0-10. Well, now we definitely can't go late because you're a feeder. Like,
it's all based on net worth deficit. It doesn't matter if the enemy has Abaddon or not. Spectre, Doom, you know, like
I forgot the game where like they said we couldn't even go late, but it wasn't even like that like decisively bad. It's just like such a tweak thing. Like people just see like a Spectre and they're just like, it's Ana, we can't go late. He's gonna go up the high ground and heal with the urn. We can't go late. Dude, we can go late versus the Spectre. He's gonna have 0 farm because he's the worst laner ever. Like, relax.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Now, it is kind of a nightmare if it's 35 minutes and you feed your godlike streak to the Spectre. That's awful.
Well, then you yes. But then what I hate about that is that people don't say like, damn, we shouldn't have fed that godlike streak. The game ends and they're like, couldn't go late.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I told you. That's not why we lost. It's because we threw the game.
That takeaway is awful because going high ground is hard. Like, you can't force it if you're not powerful enough to do it. And it's fine. You don't need to force it. The game doesn't automatically end.
Yeah, it's just absence of the nuance. Because like,
if you don't go late.
Yeah, it's just rough because like, yeah, what I don't like about the takeaway is that what you should be thinking is, damn, we almost had it. Like it was in our control and you tossed it, right? Like we actually had that game. And because what it is that when you can't go late, quote unquote, it just kind of puts you on a timer in the sense that you need to stay ahead, right? And like contribute towards like progressing the map and like closing out their space. Because if you just go like 50-50, it's not great. That's all it does. But like, it's not like, oh, end. It's like, okay, limit their farm and like abuse their weakness early. Because you have to win through like a huge network deficit. I mean, I feel like this fell out of the phase as well. Because I remember when Tundra was like the best team and they would just sit outside high ground for like 40 minutes straight farming, and they would just farm up like a 30K net worth deficit before even trying to go high ground once. And that was like in the culture of half a year ago.
Was that
or like
before the map changed? Before the side jungles? I think there were side jungles because
no, they were doing that with the side jungles too.
What I was gonna say is the side jungles, I will say, have made it harder to choke out the enemy because there's just so much to farm.
No, and useless.
No, I don't think it is.
I mean, it's good. It does make it harder compared to old Dota for sure.
I think like, the Wandering Whirl as well, the move speed buff you get from when you're going like toward the safe lane, that makes it easier to farm that area because you're just like you're so fast in that area of the map. You can.
Here's what I think on that is, and I think people tweak about this often. A lot of the times when like it gets to this late game situation where like the whole enemy team's turtling and like the enemy carry is out like farming the side jungle, this guy's the only guy farming and he's farming like all jungle camps and no waves. If he's hitting the wave, go kill him. That's not allowed, right? Or set up on the wave preemptively. But that's the mistake that the carries make is they're like, I just don't want to label it as like, damn, it's impossible to close them out because like if this carry's going to run in circles in the side jungle and farm like the whole row over and over and over again and never cut a wave and not contribute to the game, dude, that's fine. All 5 of my heroes are going to farm, right? If he's like cutting waves and like taking your triangle and stuff, it's like, all right, let's shut that down. But
it depends. If it's like an anti-mage, sometimes you can't catch him, and if he's not farmed, he'll take a while to get farmed.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I think like, yeah, I don't feel threatened when some guys just like AFK in the side jungle the whole time. Like people should still go back to like the situation where like they just out farm people on the map. Okay, I actually do need to talk about this because I've played a bunch of games. Maybe it's in the nature of Tinker that people are trying to like give up, or like I'm just taking a lot of space. But what I will say is, and this relates to the timing thing, because I was Tinker versus this Necro mid, and this Necro had a Sacred Relic. And it was the same situation where like, yo, we need to abuse this Necro's timing. We need to abuse this Necro's timing. And then what did we do? We just like ran 4 heroes at the enemy offlane tower. And no one else, like it was just like a straight tweak. Like everyone just ran at the tower. Not me. I'm Tinker. I can just TP, right? But no one's farming mid. No one's farming bot on enemy teams. It's just a 4v5 under the enemy tower because we got to abuse Necro's timing. And then our entire team just like inted under the tower. Like, here's the thing about abusing the timing. Who would have thought? It all comes back to it. We've said this before. It's all about the objectives, man. If you want to abuse Necro's timing, go hit the enemy safe lane tower or go to the runes or participate in the mid skirmish. You don't just like run at the nearest enemy hero because you're on a timing, right? You go play the next objective.
Yeah.
And I think people aren't doing that right.
What happened in that game is a really interesting case study. Because what our team did first was good. Because this Sacred Relic Necro came to my safe lane and like started diving me with just the Sacred Relic. And then our team came and we killed him. Yes. But what the team did that was wrong was they stayed there. They could have just gated back to the safe lane tower. Something else, because I've been thinking about Dawnbreaker recently, and I was coaching a guy on Dawnbreaker. And something that he wasn't doing is he would use his ult like really well to go to another lane and like counter gank really nicely. And then he would just stay there awkwardly, like just TP back to your lane right after. There's no reason to linger, especially if you're going to respond to something that happens in your safe lane. It doesn't feel good for the carry if you're like sitting there like double hitting the wave with him. That's terrible. Like just reset to how the map was very quickly. And that's, I think, a mark of like a high MMR player.
Yeah,
they know where they want to play on the map, and they like go back to that state pretty quickly.
Another thing that I think, just to label like the mechanical skill about that idea, is after you do a play / maybe even during the play if it's that free, but after you do a play, instinct needs to be to look at the mini map, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They just kind of like run to the nearest jungle camp, then they look at the mini map and start thinking, and they're like, "Oh, actually, I should have went to that wave." And then they start running to the wave, but like their teammates also run to the wave, and it's just like the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. And I also like what you're saying because, dude, I feel like this is why people don't get farmed and or like supports have a low impact. Is it's all the efficiency. And this is what's annoying is that I've been experiencing this a lot where you'll tell someone to do a play. I'll be like, hey, supports, come mid for the 6-minute rune. And first off, they'll be late, but I don't need to say this every episode. But I say, come in for the 6-minute rune. They come in for the 6-minute rune, and then they just sit there until like 7:45. Dude, I need you at the 6-minute rune, and then you can just go away.
Yeah.
Like you can walk from with boots. You can walk from like safe lane to like mid lane in like 10 seconds, or like the
Good
rune.
supports feel like they're in a lot of different places on the map at once.
Yes.
And the reason why it feels like that is because they don't spend any time lingering and not having any impact. Calling it efficiency is like a buzzword, and it makes it harder to understand than just like.
But like that is the like okay. Is it insane that
fast.
I have this is a crazy episode idea because I actually saw the thumbnail
Wait,
for like
take away the quick. Oh wait, I can hide it. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I saw the thumbnail for like a cap one where they're doing like Dota player like tier list. Basically, they're like ranking Dota players.
We need to do a tier list.
But no, my tier list is Dota skills that are the highest ROI for improving.
Oh wait, that's
and
fire.
Efficiency for me is in the S
You mean
tier.
the highest ROI to improve?
Yeah, exactly. Like these skills are the most important to be a good Dota player.
Laning.
Okay, yeah, because I would say that efficiency is like S to A tier, but it's not like Z tier. Z tier is just like laning.
Yeah.
Z tier is literally just like laning and like aggroing and stuff. Well, aggroing, like I put aggroing like in laning, right? But like laning is definitely
the problem is efficient. There's so much that goes into efficiency. There's like farming efficiency. There's efficiency when you're on a support.
I think in particular, I just mean efficiency. Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Getting things done on the map is what you mean, right?
Yes, exactly. But here's the thing, because you're like, oh, there's a lot of different forms of efficiency. There's farming efficiency. There's like play efficiency. But so I think it's easy for like our brains to make a distinction between them because they feel like a different thing. Because dude, people have like buzzworded out so many of these things. So it's like my farming pattern, the perfect farming pattern.
Yeah,
it's the
that's
6
a big
camps,
buzzword.
right? But like efficiency can include your farming pattern. But what if there's a play right there? Right. So then now there's more efficiency. It's like camp. You're wasting no time, wave, and you run to the play, kill the guy, and you don't linger. You now have adjusted your farming pattern and you are efficient and go to the next thing.
Yeah. Efficiency in my mind is just about impact in the game. Like how little time do you spend just doing nothing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think the way that it manifests, just to be very literal, is just people like standing around not knowing where to go. There's so much time of people doing that, where they're standing around and like not sure where to go. And I also think that comes from like not having foresight, right? Like not trying to think ahead.
Yeah,
about
because a lot of it depends on the objectives and the timer of the objectives.
Exactly. What they're doing is they're just looking at their screens. They're like, oh, camp, wave, there's a fight, looks pretty good. I died. And then someone goes, can anyone TP? Can anyone TP? Doesn't pan camera TPs. Like that's what's going on. That's not efficiency. But okay, what I was gonna say on the efficiency point for supports is there's a gigantic difference between being the support and you're like under your tower walking from there, right? Like I'm saying, okay, I'll just give the full picture. Let's say you're Radiant safe lane support. There's a huge difference from like walking basically under tower / in the trees than if you're playing the side around like 6 minutes or like if it's like 5:30 and you're playing like the pole camps and you run to the bot rune, right? Because another thing a lot of sports do is they run from like as deep as possible in their lane to like the center of the middle lane. I don't, right? And because another thing that people do, I'm just going off now about like all the efficiency mistakes that I hate on support is they will come mid and like go for like the wrap gank on mid, but what they'll do is they'll sit because like it's not an easy angle. Like the enemy mid doesn't look killable. Like I just want you here for the runes, but they're here like way too early sometimes. Like they're here 30 seconds early, so they feel like they need something to do, and then they'll just like sit in the trees for 30 seconds. Like my shadow shaman.
That's inefficient. That's what I mean. You're not having any impact in the game doing that, and those are 30 seconds that you could have been spending in your safe lane.
So see, okay, and it's also interesting because I'm sure like. It's just you and me are getting we're experiencing it in two different ways where I have this guy just like sitting in the trees AFK. And for you, like the support leaving
I'm
varies
getting
so
2v1 fisted.
well, not just that, but I'm saying each time the support leaves, I feel like the experience varies so hard because sometimes the guy just like walks there, kills the mid, and like runs back, and it's like efficient. And sometimes he just goes there and drools on himself in the trees for like 2 minutes, and you're like, dude, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Why did
No,
you do
I
that?
mean, you're right that it varies so much because, I mean, good supports, what they do is they pull first because when you pull, I'll have like 40 seconds of safety under my tower where I can just farm. Pull first, walk mid, check the rune, walk back, and you're back in 30 seconds.
Yes, exactly.
Really
And the
good.
other thing is like they're
That feels
leaving.
good. I get solo XP, they pulled, I'm free farming under my
Yeah,
tower, and they help mid. They
yeah, they pull
accomplish
like
so much.
42. Yeah, if you have like boots and stuff, dude. No, it's even more so as like I understand on safe lane. The thing about safe lane support, this is like I don't know. We'll see if you agree with this because you play some support as well. Is I mean, actually, I don't know if you run mid for the runes, so maybe you won't agree.
I do.
But when you run from safe lane and you pull, it's a little awkward to get there on time because safe lane's further. But it's not honestly not that bad. But dude, if you're late as 4 to the runes, it's like 8 seconds. Like you need to leave top by like 48, and you
Yeah,
will be on the rune.
I think that's a good point. That's why it's easier for 4 to check the runes
Yeah, it
than
is.
5. It's much closer.
Well,
I
the
actually
thing
didn't really think about that before
yes,
this, but it's much easier.
Yes, it is much easier. But also, I mean, I still think it's good for 5 to check the rune. It's just that, like, yeah, I don't know. You can run there and back like super, super fast. It's like 12 seconds maybe. And the other thing is like if you have boots or not, like that, like they should be considering this kind of thing as well. Like if you have boots windlace and you're like playing bot, like you can get there in like sub 10 seconds.
Because that's what the item allows you to do. That's like playing to your inventory is another really good concept we can talk about a little bit. Like
Actually,
a lot of it.
okay, yeah, never mind. I kind of had more. Actually, go ahead because
No, we can.
is it related to
about
what we were
this
talking
more.
about? Or are you changing the topic? Because I think
What you're gonna say is a little bit more related.
yeah, I was gonna say that when it comes to efficiency as well, um, like if we're talking about that mid play where there's a gank or whatever, I think this is an important concept is just make moves that feel good for you. And like I feel like a lot of supports just like try to force something because they're there or like make plays happen that just don't exist. And it's like even if I don't know. Like all I want, you have to adjust your play based on like the game state. Like if it's a free kill mid, then yeah, you can show up early and like do something. If I'm like, and I usually communicate that, but like if I like communicate, like I'm just like check the runes. Like can the sports come and just check the runes? Like what I want from you is to run there at 50, check the rune, and then just leave. Like that's what I want, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part about that, and this is what goes into being a good player, is like identifying a play as forced. I think people are. I at least am one to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like if my Lich decides to dive like a Vanguard,
he like thought
Centaur,
that was good,
and maybe he legitimately thought that was good. But I know as an experienced player, like if a lot of plays are going to be bad, just like right off the bat, you know.
No,
but people don't know that, so a lot of that I feel like is building up your intuition.
I don't think so. I think they're.
I mean,
I think they literally get mind controlled. I think they get mind controlled.
It goes both ways because yeah, I do agree. I think there's a lot of mind controlling going on. And I know that because with people I coach, sometimes I'll pause the game and I'll ask them what they think they should do like in this moment, and they're able to give me like a correct answer, right?
Yeah.
But then they do the opposite in the game and they feed.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're mind controlled.
Well, exactly. And here's the mind control I'm thinking of is when the support comes too early to the runes, or sometimes my support just is like sitting mid in the trees, and like I think that their intuition in our games is good enough because I'm looking at the same guy. It'll be like I don't know, the enemy mid's like a tiny or some shit, and this guy is like the tankiest guy I've ever seen in my life. And then yeah, in my level 3 like Shadow Shaman sitting in the trees, I'm like, we both are feeling that this looks terrible, right? Like we're both vibing with this. And then the guy runs in and starts like shackling the guy. It's like, I swear it's just because they're there and they're like, well, I'm here anyways. And then they just force it. That's what the mind control is. Like the supports that do this at the 6-minute runes, I think it's just because they're there at 5:30 and they're like, yeah, I mean, I'm here. I might as well just like run into the enemy mid laner. Like it's so bad.
No, something that helped
me
get
mind controlled.
Get over. Sorry. Yeah. I think by getting mind controlled, what I mean specifically is like knowing a good play and like doing something else, like doing something that you know is a bad play.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes with having conviction in your own skill, because what would happen to me before, I became really based. Not that I'm like really based now or anything. I don't want to glaze myself, but because, okay, if you're like in the example you gave, you're more likely to go on the tiny because you might think the Shadow Shaman is like confident about the play, you know? And
Yeah.
so that makes it more likely for you to just go along with it.
Okay,
Because
actually,
both people are thinking that the other person thinks it's good. And so this
that's
happened.
true. No, that's true. That's true.
I have a good analogy for this. When I went to college in New York City.
Yes.
And so when I was a freshman in college, like there were a lot of people who didn't know the city at all. And we would get in big groups and we'd go out, you know, like at night.
Yeah.
And this phenomenon would happen multiple times where it'd be a group of like 10 freshmen and we would just walk straight for like 30 minutes because somebody else thought that somebody else knew the directions, that anybody else had the directions. But in
Yeah.
reality, nobody knew where we were going. But
Yeah.
everybody thought that somebody knew. So we would just like walk straight for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah, yeah.
craziest thing ever. So that's what's going on here.
No, I actually think that's super true. By the way, thank you, Fatty, for the 500 bits for Krabby.
Oh, is that what that is? The cheers? Oh, let's
Yeah,
go.
that's a mind controlled dispel.
Yeah, thank you for the bits. The mind controlled dispel.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
really funny. I kind of needed that. Low
No.
key with mind controlling, I go through phases where I get mind controlled more than other phases.
No,
I think
yeah.
it takes more like willpower for me to not get mind controlled.
The mind control is also weird because, I mean, basically just what we said is like, I swear most of the plays where it feels forced, I'm pretty confident that like all like 3 people involved in the play are like, this looks terrible. I guess we're doing it. Like all 3 of us are just like mutually like, because most of the time I know when I'm forcing, like I'll get smoked and we're like wrapping behind the tower and I'm like a level 6 Ember and it's like, this could get sketchy fast, right? Like enemies TP and stuff. And then we go and like we're walking through the nighttime and they're under the tower and like the trees. It's like, this play looks awful. And then we just go do that shit. And lo and behold, like I get out because I'm Ember and then like all the enemy team TPs and my supports get boomed instant. And it's like, I feel like we all knew like we weren't going to kill anyone here, but we just like, we're in smoke. Like, let's just go top and feed. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, exactly. What it is too is like, oh, we're in smoke. I guess we should try.
Yeah,
it's because it takes friction to not do it.
Yes,
it's the same reason why when you approach the high ground, it takes a lot out of me to tell my team like to back off and not siege because everyone's already there. Everyone's already there, so people just like default to like hitting it or whatever, and then feed to the tower.
The tower is like an MC fucking antenna. Like the high ground tower is genuinely like the mind control radio tower.
That's funny. Wait, I want to make that the thumbnail.
Because I actually
be a bunch of zombies like going up the high ground.
I feel the pull. Like as soon as you look up those high ground steps, you like look up, and I'm just like I'm mind controlled to just like run it straight.
No, and I feel like the bad guy who's ruining everyone's fun when I say like back, like we're not sieging, guys.
It's like so extreme too.
Because that's like, what it is,
dude. The pull is so devastating because literally what it turns into at the high ground siege is as you're hitting the tower, you were like begging them like, "I'm hitting, careful, do not go up, do not go up."
I can feel that my axe wants to dive.
No, you can literally see them like running forward and like getting ready to dive. And it's like, and you're like begging them like, "Stop, dude, please." The pull is like
there's so much tension in those situations, man. It's crazy. And then what breaks the tension is my axe blinking on a necro and calling him and feeding.
And just running it down. It's so terrible.
I knew he was gonna do that. Dude, no, but that's so true, man. Everyone wants to go on the high ground. I'm literally killing everyone's fun when I say back. Like they're getting less dopamine from that.
Yeah. The thing about the high ground mind control is I feel like it's so strong that people don't actually know it's a bad play. Like they think that like just like diving past the racks is a good play. Like a lot of people, right? Whereas like a lot of like the forced plays in other situations, I really feel like it's just, I mean, what it is stupid stacks, right? You made the video on this. Like, I feel like it's just like factors like social pressure where you're like, I'm in smoke or like I'm here early at the rune. Like I might as well do something. That's not good. And then, I mean, relating it back to what I said is just like, that's why I feel like actually relating it back to Blue Lock, let's just go full circle really quick. That's why I think like even support players or like this would be why it would be good to like just, this is something I think core players do. Actually, they don't do a good job. Core players suck too. Is like, you need to be an egoist. You need to do stuff that's good for your hero, right? Even if you're the 5, like CM needs to do what's good for her hero. Her game should feel good. Does it feel good to go mid at 5:15 for some reason, and then you sit in the trees for 45 minutes It's like that feels terrible.
What feels good on CM is pulling and then going on the enemies when the wave comes back and you're
Yeah,
safe
and
lane.
pressing
That's what
blood
feels
grenade
good.
and stuff. And like here, okay, this is also another thing. And I relate this to like definitely one of our most important things, which is like you can only control yourself. But that's why you should be really greedy, because a lot of the time when I'm communicating stuff too, I'm just saying like what my hero can do, right? And I think that's that's proper communication. You should communicate what your hero does, right? Not what other people should do. And I don't have the experience of like what other people see in the game, right? I'm like Ember. I'm not like these other heroes. So it's not easy for me to know what feels good for them. So like maybe I feel like, hey, I'm going to connect here. Like I'm strong. I'm looking to like kill supports, or like I'm looking to like dive these guys. And it's up to, and a lot of people just get mind controlled by that, but it's like, it's up to them to like make decisions on whether or not that feels good for their game. Especially even supports is basically my main point, because I feel like supports don't think that. There was I mean, maybe calling out like a personality is a little much on the podcast, but whatever. But I mean, and this is just this is
like a
mostly
Dota personality.
Yeah, this is just mostly jokes though.
Yeah,
but
mostly.
we were watching whatever tournament it was, the stream, and there was Zeke Optic on the panel, and or I think he was casting. But there was like a bad play. This was a bad play. It was like Gaiman versus like Tundra or something. I forgot. That was a good series though. But the Centaur, or they go for a play and the CM dies, but the Centaur gets traded on, and they're like trying to evac him, and like the enemy team turned and they got like a big kill, and like the Centaur's team was ahead. And then he went on the cast, he said like, oh, but like Centaur's job is kind of just like to get in there. So like honestly, he's down. Or it was something along those lines. I didn't word it exactly like that, but basically, it was like it's okay for him to die.
He implied
like,
that the death was like okay.
Yeah, like it's his role.
Yeah, Centaur's just doing his job.
And I'm telling you, like Centaur is probably like he's probably not pleased. I'll tell you that much. His team.
There's nuance. There's nuance to it in Zeke Optic's defense, because Ace is on Centaur playing with Quinn and Watson, so like he is naturally going to be more sacrificial, but. I just think
the mindset is deadly.
Dying is not good on Cole.
Yeah, like
period.
That
was a Centaur for CM trade. Ace probably hates himself after he made that play. Like it's terrible.
And let's not let CM get away either. Like let's say Centaur didn't die. CM, it's not okay for you to die, man. It's not okay. You can't just die. Like you need to be greedy.
I think in pro sometimes there's nuance where like the 5 will tank ganks.
Yes,
but okay, on this topic, I was playing with Cookie yesterday.
Dude, people think they're such professors taking ganks. I tanked the gank. You didn't do anything.
No, Cookie's a very positive guy, but he was actually playing. He wasn't playing support. He got filled mid.
Okay. Was he tanking ganks on middle?
No.
Okay. Oh wait, I was like that would be. Why is that like kind of like Cookie build?
That's funny. Now we had this AA, and my AA had like 6 deaths at like 15 minutes, and I think Cookie was just trying to make him feel better, because he was like, damn, AA, you're tanking so many ganks for me in this TA.
I think Cookie's joking.
I was the TA. No, but AA thought he was serious, and he like, which I don't know, it's in Cookie's defense, it made the AA think that he's having
it made him feel play better. It
made him feel good, and yeah, it probably did make him play better.
It's a good job,
but
Cookie.
In the moment I was a little bit annoyed, and this is actually interesting to dive into, because I felt like I kind of wanted the AA to like feel bad for feeding, but I shouldn't want that. Like I should want my teammates to feel good. But I was a little bit tilted at him because of the way he played the lane. Sure. I mean, it's kind of tilting to play with AA5 in general, and he only bought 1 blood grenade. He didn't rebuy. And I think AA is a hero where you have to rebuy the blood grenades.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's the anecdote. The AA felt good because he thought he was tanking ganks, but and I'm TA in my safe lane. I have like 6 traps. Like he didn't tank anything. I wasn't gonna die if the AA didn't die.
I just think that well, it was about being greedy. Like I think the greedy thing is more just like mentality, where I don't think people are. Sorry, I'm having an audio issue really quick. I wanted to make sure it wasn't the whole like recording or something. That would be a nightmare.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm sure if there was something wrong with the stream,
it's just on my stream, my end.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like being greedy, the point kind of makes itself. Like, I just think that that's something that people don't do enough, right? Like, they just don't want to optimize their game. Because let's say you have a perfect support game and you carry insanely hard, what does that look like? Does that look like tanking 8 deaths, like for smoke ganks? I feel like it doesn't look like that, right? Like, no one's ever like, that was a clean one.
You know,
like,
in pro maybe.
Yeah, sure. But also maybe. but I don't think like that's what he's like highlighting as like wowza. Like that CM game was ownage because he's also doing a lot of other stuff. I mean, there's so many responsibilities, right? So like I'm sure these people are tanking ganks and they're more farmed than like people in our pubs, right? And what I think the great support game looks like is when all of your moves are working, right? Not when you're taking a bunch of ganks. It's just like you're killing a guy, you're fucking
you're
putting
another
up
lane
wards.
killing a guy.
Yeah, you smoke, you get the runes, you kill another guy. Like it's just all working. You get the wisdom. Like that's what it looks like. And then later you're like you get an opportunity to get some waves. You get to push in some stuff. So many heroes are so good. Honestly, playing CM is really nice because you can just like frostbite creeps. Supports that can do that. It's so good for your farm. Just as an aside.
Yeah, go jungle.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm just like, listen, I'm walking. Well, actually, why I like it.
Jungling on the way to things is good.
This is just like, I'm just going into CM randomly instead. Like, I forget the rest of the topic, but I like CM because you just leave the hard camp open, right? And then you just frostbite the creep and farm it. So it's like, your pull sucks.
That's really good. Early game too, it gives you a lot of gold.
I don't do it early until like, okay, this is the full CM nuance maybe, is level 1 frostbite does not one-shot the big creep. Right? It does like half of its HP. So it's still chill if they pull. You can like kill the big creep and like relatively secure it. I mean, they can nuke it actually as it's going down, but people are bad at timing it with CM's nuke. But level 3, or as in like level 2 frostbite, I think it starts one-shotting the big creep or getting really close. So you can just like auto it twice. So that's when like I would block the camp early and then unblock it like at like 4 or 5 minutes, I think. And then just like start farming it.
In general, the hard camp I think is a really, really good objective to play around in the lane. Yeah. Honestly, on both sides, for the safe lane and the off lane, because I found that people's laning fundamentals will crumble when there's a pull on the hard camp. And what I mean by that is like in a game recently, I was playing carry and the enemies got a hard camp pull. And so me and the enemy support, I think it's like a Rubik. The Rubik's, I know that the Rubik's trying to fade bolt like the big pink bird to last hit it, right?
Yes.
And I'm autoing it down. Yes. So I knew that he was going to be close. And so I used that to ping him. And then me and my support went on him and killed him because I knew that he was going to like stand too close because he wants to last hit the pink creep. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of, it doesn't have to be that like literal of an example, but there you can play around the hard camp really well. And certain heroes do it better. Another hero that plays really well around the hard camp on off lane is Dawnbreaker. Because what's Dawnbreaker's identity in the lane? He wants to all in people. That's basically all the hero does in lane. And the perfect time to do that is at the hard camp because the safe laner is going to be really far from his tower. So if you're playing support, that's just another nuance of a really high skill support is knowing like if you're laning with or against the Dawnbreaker, contesting the hard camp is going to be more important. Another hero, just to give another example, that's really good on a hard camp pull is like Techies.
Yes.
Suiciding on the hard camp is really a really good play.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why, but for whatever reason, it feels better to go on somebody on that hard camp than like on the wave. I don't know what it is, but you always get more kills.
You want to know what it, or like, okay, also Techies is really good because I feel like the suicide like kills the trees, right? And the tree line's like annoying.
Yeah, that's why Techies is goated.
But
on it.
Yeah, Techies is actually goated. But I think what happens, okay, the hard camp pull just adds stupid stacks. And what I mean is like, first off, a lot of the time, dude, some of the camps are doing damage, right? Like when you get the Hellbear Smasher and like the red one is just like boxing
it's
your
just
melee.
Chaos on
dude,
the hard
like,
camp.
No, exactly.
Everyone
like,
crumbles.
Exactly. Like the Hellbear Smasher is just like shitting on your creeps when it gets pulled. And like people who normally last it fine, they just like start tweaking and then they run melee range and then the Hellbear hits them.
Yeah.
Now you just took like 80 damage. Like
I mean, it's genuinely hard to last hit against the hard camp.
It turns into mayhem so quick.
Yeah,
it turns into mayhem so quick.
Does. I also observed this where people just become stupid when you walk under their tower. So
yes.
I did this recently in League, but it applies. It's the same in Dota.
I wanted to talk about this. I literally thought about this when we were having this where the same connection.
I had a good play where I walked like my wave was crashing under someone's tower and he's like half HP. And I knew I could dive him. But the way that I executed the dive is I literally just walked under the tower, like really close to the tower, and I didn't click his hero at all, so the tower didn't aggro to me. And when that happens, people will just shart their pants. This guy,
they're just like, oh shit,
yeah,
like,
it's
over.
crazy. So I just chill and like focus on dodging his spells, or I don't even think about dodging his spells. I just wait,
just like stand,
and then the dude just sharded and missed all his spells, and then I just waited, and then I casted my spells on him and killed him.
Yeah.
The same thing happens in Dota.
No, I agree. I was actually giving this advice to my brother in League. When you dive, but this is super true in Dota, especially like, I mean, on someone like Ember, I do this all the time, where you run out of like, if you want to dive somebody or just in general, it's about playing around cooldowns. If you can get them to commit their cooldowns for nothing, it's really good, right? Because then you get every spell. Let's say I'm trying to kill like a Muerta, okay? And I press every button and the guy presses Fear Silence. Well, I'm not killing the guy. What if I just stood melee range on top of the guy? I'm just standing on him with Flame Guard, and he just like absolutely loses it and like Fear Silences me. I don't know why I chose Muerta. It's not like Muerta would be mid. But I was just thinking of someone with like some control that would be annoying.
That's exactly what it is, because what you want is you want them to use their CC when the tower's not aggro to you.
And then you get to
and then you take buttons. The tower aggro. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can bait their spells out, especially if they have CC, it's more important.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you get stunned under the tower, it's worst nightmare. Like
that is like, like what are you doing if that's the dive? Like you just hit them, you auto attack them, and then you're just stunned under the tower.
I mean, that's how people dive though. It takes a lot to just like do what we're talking about, where you just walk in and stand there.
Let's say
you can feel the panic in people's like body language in the game when you do that. It's so funny. They start like walking back and forth.
They walk back and forth. They like walk back into you by accident. Like they pop the stick. It's like, oh, it's going down.
They pop their stick really early. They pop the stick.
They like buy no exactly. Like they pop a fairy fire at like half HP. It's like, yeah, you're.
Meanwhile, I'm like calm, cool, and collected, like just chilling.
Exactly. Yeah, because the thing is that you just. I mean, if you can get them to burn their cooldowns for nothing, then like, oh, okay. If they have, here's a good example, because this is an actual mid hero, is Tiny, right? And Tiny like has mana problems sometimes. So let's say let's just say he has like mana for like his toss or his Ava, right? Like if you just walk at this guy and he's low under tower, if from the Tiny's pop, you're like, it's over. Like I'm dead. Like here we go. And then you just like Ava the ground and try to run. But like the guy hasn't pressed any cooldowns. Whereas if let's say I'm like Ember and I chains the guy and then he Avas me, he's getting away.
Yeah.
But if he avers me and then I have every button, now I just press every button, the guy can't defend himself. But the spells are to defend themselves.
Even good players don't do that. Like it takes really, really, really high MMR player, I think, to like save the Ava there. Like most people,
you just keep running, dude. You just keep running. You just gotta run for the hills. Yeah. But like exactly. When you're diving, a big part of it is that like, they can use their spells to defend themselves. But let's say they're still hitting you with the spells. But if you didn't cast any spells, like what are they defending themselves? You haven't even started attacking the guy yet. This is the same as a guy running up to the wave and just pressing Av on you for 80 damage for fun, right? It's like completely worthless. And you're just like standing there.
Like we said before, their best defense is CCing you or slowing you under the tower. I guess slow CC when you're taking the tower. I'm gonna go refill my water. Unless you want to wrap up the point. Let me take a little bit.
I was just gonna say that people don't. It's more of a transition, but people just don't punish cooldowns enough early game because later it's less important.
Topic.
The Invoker stocks are up super good. I hate to say it, the highest thing on Pro Track right now is AA.
Yeah, no, I know he's strong. I still don't like laning with it. But
Invoker's
he
the second one.
Atos is really good
as well.
But I was gonna maybe we do like 10 more minutes of free podcast and then we do Q&A for a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna answer Fatty's question, but maybe I'll do it after.
Yeah, I think we should do it for the Q&A.
Sure.
What I was thinking about
left, but you can go off on your tangent. I mean, I think the point was like
no, it's not much of a tangent. I was just thinking about when I was getting water when I felt like I'm like ruining people's fun when I say not to go high ground. It feels like I'm like a daycare leader and it's a bunch of kids who just want to play. And I'm like, stop. You can't do it. I'm like gatekeeping it. It actually feels bad. And I was watching an SVG stream recently and he's playing ranked on NA. And he did something that discouraged me. So it was a hyper late game scenario. He ended up losing against Mega Creeps. And okay, what happened? So his team used their buyback. So his team didn't have buybacks and there were 2 enemies dead, right? So what does his team naturally do? They're pushing to end. But SVG said, before the push even started, he said, we are going to lose this game because the enemies have buybacks and my team is going to go and they're going to die back and we're going to lose. They had Mega Creeps. Okay.
Yes.
And SVG said, I'm not even going to try to tell them not to go because I know they're not going to listen based on how they've been playing. And so he didn't even try. And that's exactly what happened. His team went, they diebacked, and then he lost the game. And it made me discouraged because I feel like he should have tried, man.
Yeah,
Like, it's just
like
so jaded in despair.
Well,
like, not even to tell him to go.
Oh, man.
I'm not saying they would have listened, but like, I kind of
yeah,
felt bad
that's
after
like
that.
that's morally heavy to like have witnessed.
Yeah, just to even witness, dude. But
You have to be really
I feel
jaded
like
to
he
like
should have
not even
tried.
try there. Yeah.
The fact that he called it out was hilarious. He's like, I know exactly what's going to happen because that's their default. I mean, I agree. Like, that's it. It was just sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could relate to being the guy that is gonna run in and die back though and be a feeder, honestly, because like maybe I would make that mistake. I mean, the thing is, like, maybe he would have said it because I would listen for sure. Like, that's a very fair point. Even if you have the megas, I mean, just wait for your buybacks.
Yeah,
yeah.
It takes so much discipline, and again, it like ruins fun because you have to wait like 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. No, playing with buybacks as well is such a another individual skill that's like great to practice, right? But like just like using gem or something, like it's its own skill, and some people are better at it than others. And using buybacks is really, really hard, both when you press the buyback and then what you do for the next 7 minutes. Because you could really just like int and ruin the game. And so many people just like press buyback and then they just play like it's a normal Dota game and just get caught like randomly and just like you just threw the whole game.
Yeah, I mean,
or they just press their buyback for fun. Like they're just pissed and then they just like press buyback for fun, and it had like
buying back in the late game gives the enemies a win condition because if they kill you without buyback, like you can just lose.
You know what's really hard? There's a lot of. I mean, I use buybacks pretty often, like in late game fights because I mean, like I try to like win a team fight or something. But the one that's really hard, this happens pretty often, is like I feel obligated to buy back, or I can't. I don't know. I'm not saying I feel obligated as in if I don't know if it's good for me. But there's a lot of times where like you'll die with your ages and you're like, I need help, and I'm looking at our team and they're looking like really hesitant, or like they're kind of like scattered to the wastelands because like they're all like hurt and like 1 HP, and like so you're just respawning and there's like 4 enemies on you and you're like, yo, anyone here? And it's like, I guess I'm just buying back, and like because like my carry's about to get destroyed, right? But is it worth to buy back? Like, I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of nuance
if I save you or if we kill them.
I mean, if you save me from dying and we kill 4 enemy heroes, I think it's worth.
Well, yes, of course. But what if I like? Because the thing is, like, okay, let's say I don't buy back and you die there. They're gonna play the map and like, or maybe it's late game and they're gonna like siege our base, and then you're gonna have to buy back. So basically, I'm trying to buy back to save you and prevent you from buybacking if you're gonna die there, right? In a late game scenario.
Well, if we're in front of their base, then I probably
I'm just thinking like a random. Okay, that's true. But like a lot of times, like when we're losing the fight, like we're getting chased to like the river. Because this happens often. Where like basically, yeah, I'll buy back, and it's like if I didn't buy back, you would have just died with buyback. But now I bought back, and now I'm like, I might just die and like ruin the game. Like, was your death that impactful? Of course it is, but like,
I mean, it depends on the hero.
To hand them a win condition is scary. That's all.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, both options are really good. I mean, I think there's a lot of like.
Yeah. It definitely depends on like the scenario, but just using buybacks in general is really, really difficult.
I think you and I have erred on the side of buying back too liberally now. Like in the past,
I'm like Ember, so like I just like buy back.
That's true.
Like,
it does feel good to buy back on Ember. It feels good to buy.
I don't
back
buy back
on
a lot on Pango.
where you go fast.
Because like
where you get back to the fight fast. Yeah,
exactly.
It feels good to buy back on heroes where you can get to the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Quickly. I mean, for whatever reason, when the enemy buys back against me, it always feels bad. No, whenever I buy back against the enemy, it always feels like bad. It also feels bad. So
I think they're doing something. Honestly, different. Ember feels really good to buy back on. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the late game buyback is like part of my formula at this point. Where like there's one team fight where like I can just tell I'm taking too much damage, and either I would have to like double remnant away and then be useless for the rest of the fight on like 1 HP, or I could just feed and just buy back and go stupid.
Yeah, I mean the reset is really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Because also what happens when you have a shard, it leaves behind the remnant. But a lot of the times I'll like run in and die, and I won't insta buyback remnant in my like angry rage.
Yeah, you wait till they commit.
Exactly, because then then they're like fighting you on top of the remnant, and you're doing a bunch of damage, and they're like get him, and then I just remnant in and like kill everybody.
That's another good thing, or another thing to do with buybacks is wait till the enemies commit.
Yes, that's so hard.
It's really good.
Yeah, dude, people always tweak with the buybacks as well. We're like, people just buy back and like you have no CC or you can't catch people. To be committed, as we've discussed in Dota, it takes a lot to be committed in a fight. It's just that people don't have the nuance of kiting back. But I feel like when it's they have to use a lot to be committed, and I think people underestimate it. People like walk up and hit the high ground once, and then like the guy just buys back. It's like, how the hell are we going to catch that? But yeah, that's buybacks. Really, really hard to use.
I think that's a good point to wrap up the YouTube podcast at. If you want to go and do Q&A, I'm trying to think if I had something else to say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was one more thing that I wanted to get out. It was when we were talking about communication and like doing what your hero wants to do. Something that's kind of annoyed me recently that I don't think there's really a solution to is when I make a call in game. And I like playing with you because you understand this. I say like, "Can we Roche?" or like, "I want to Roche."
Yes, I want to Roche is great diction.
I'm not making the definitive call that let's go hit the Roche guys. I'm saying, do you guys also want to Roche? Like, can we do this?
What your hero does.
Can we do this together?
Yes.
But yeah, I'm communicating what my hero does, which we've talked about before is like good communication. Yes. But people interpret that still as like a definitive call, which I don't really like because people will like use that against me subconsciously as well. Yeah. If they think I'm like making a bad call and I like become this bad guy, whereas part of me, like,
you get vilified.
I need input from my team. Like, are my supports ready to ward? Like, do we have a smoke ready? Like that kind of stuff is relevant to can we Roche? So I just wish people interpreted the communication in a more nuanced way like that, where I'm just communicating what my hero wants to do, and I'm seeing if other heroes also want to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're like Ursa, like it would feel good to Roche, is what you're saying, and you're trying to do things that feel good for your hero. Yeah. But and a lot of people, dude, I've been experiencing that because we've been playing League as well. So it's like I experienced that a lot where you communicate like what you want to do, what you're trying to do. And it's just tough because people aren't good at parsing that information and like making decisions about what's good for their hero. So they just like show up and like ruin their own game, but then it's like your fault because you were saying
exactly.
But it's like, dude, I was just saying like let's check the runes, we can kill top rune, and then like some guy like runs into like the enemy like mid laner and like gets boomed or something. It's like, well, or like when I gave you the example last episode where like I'm Ember and I remnant away, my supports are like, dude, really, dude? And it's like, well, I'm running in the triangle and like hit this guy.
Yeah,
like I'm not Shadow Shaman, right? Like you know what it like. Okay, God. Yeah.
Another really relevant example is if like my sniper is close to BKB, maybe he wants to wait to finish BKB before roshing. Like that's information that I could get by clicking on my sniper, and I do get sometimes, but it's just easier if he says something, you know?
It's also just like, it's honestly just like emotional state. Like with the Dota game, there's a huge storyline to like what happened in the game. Like maybe the sniper like lost his lane really hard, or maybe I'm like Ember against Huskar, and like so I'm ramping up and I like want to just like kind of be greedy and take some space.
Yeah.
And like the other teammates don't really know what you're experiencing. Of course, they can like gather information with their map and stuff like that. Not that you need to like, you know, go on the spiel about your emotional state and to the teammates. You shouldn't do that. But
the or at least for me, how I'm feeling, my emotional state carries so much information behind it about
exactly. And I don't know that for other
game.
people.
Yeah.
Right. So like when I say, can we do something? Like you got to make a decision with your context. I don't know what it's like to be you in this game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just like, I don't know, they just lose the free will and they just like do something that's terrible for their hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to be greedy.
Timings are also good. I know we talked about timings, but this just made me think about it. The double BKB timing on cores feels really good to like smoke with. You guys get BKBs around the same time.
Dude, double BKB timing is like I mean, that was a great like I was gonna say it's great when you're losing. It's also great when you're ahead. It's actually probably worse when you're losing.
Yeah, it's just pretty good in general.
Yeah, but whenever I'm having a bad game, usually BKB. I remember I was having a bad game versus Huskar, and I got BKB, and then I got like a triple kill the next fight. It's like so much easier to play the game. Who would have thought BKB is good?
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap up.
Wait, I have a. I mean, we can. I don't know
you
if
can say a little bit.
No. This is kind of a different thing that. But you're gonna relate to this one, unfortunately, because we experience it a lot. But it's not like good. It's not good Dota alpha necessarily. I've been noticing this trend a lot where a lot of people will comment on the play of the players that are doing the best on their team because their plays have the most impact on the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
And yes, because what happens is some guy will be 0 and 3 million, and then you're like 27 and 0. And then you misplay one fight, and he chimes in that like you ruined the game because if you didn't ruin that fight,
he comments on like one button you should have pressed at a different time.
But like let's say I die once and I'm like 30 and 0 and I die once, and we lose the game, right? Because of my death. Like maybe you're right that like I misplayed the one fight, but it's just like it's easy to comment on my play because my play has impact because I am fed, right? But like what am I supposed to say about what you did in the fight if you're like 0 and
You
2,000?
did nothing. Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what you do. So it's like no one's gonna comment on your play. So it's just so easy to flame the guy that's doing really well, and it's annoying because like yeah, it also like this mistake wouldn't have mattered if you didn't go 0 and 200, man. But like I
Yeah.
didn't say anything. And so yeah, people late game love to comment on like you're my play when we're doing really well because we like misplay once and they're like blaming us for the game. But it's like it's just crazy because like usually it's like we're the reason why we're in the game. And we make like one mistake and it's like, well, that mistake like took us out of the game. It's like, yeah, well, we should have never been in this game in the first place. If you just did well, like we would have won at 5 minutes. Like, what are you talking about?
You're making me think about like teammates I've had recently, and I get so triggered, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, I was hesitant to bring it up because it's
bro.
not Dota Alpha. It's just like straight like nightmare. But
yeah, no, it really isn't. It makes me feel so like icky whenever that happens to me, which it happens pretty often where I'm the guy owning.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. I think we're gonna wrap up the episode now for the
Yeah.
YouTube version. I forgot to say that we're
Something like
live
that.
on Twitch at the beginning of this, so we're gonna record this every week at 10 a.m. PST sharp. We're
Yes.
gonna be better about maintaining professionalism in the future. Yeah, let us know in the comments if you enjoyed this podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. I started saying that recently because somebody told me that it actually helps engagement, even though I think it's kind of cringe, because people just forget to engage. But if you got value out of this, if you enjoyed it, a like, a comment, and or a subscription all go a really long way. So let us know what you thought.
True.
We're also really open to feedback about the podcast, and we hope to see you on Twitch next week. That's it for this episode, probably. All right. For the Twitchers, we're still going to be here doing a little Q&A.
Yeah. Thanks for
Chilling,
the follow,
hanging out
Double
with chat.
Samson.
Oh, what's up, Double Samson? I see him in the chat.
Appreciate that.